Intimacy of touch with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, steady warmth, sacred service. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, touch is devotion materialized, an expression of love through presence, structure, and reliability. Ruled by Aryaman, the deity of nobility, companionship, and contracts, this nakshatra is deeply attuned to loyalty, partnership, and the long game of love. Where Purva Phalguni seeks the thrill of romance and sensual enjoyment, Uttara Phalguni brings that passion into the realm of responsibility, ritual, and sustained care. You don't touch impulsively. Your touch is grounded, intentional, and full of meaning. A hand on the shoulder during a stressful moment, a long, anchoring hug, a forehead kiss that says, "I am here and I will be." These gestures are how your emotional body builds safety and affirms commitment. Your love is felt in the consistency of your physical presence. For you, touch is not only sensual, it is restorative. You prefer touch that soothes the nervous system, calms the mind, and builds trust over time. You may be drawn to holding hands during mundane routines, shoulder-to-shoulder stillness at the end of the day, or small gestures that say, "You're not alone in this." You don't chase novelty. You cherish emotional familiarity through the body. You also instinctively touch with a sense of duty and honor. Acts of service and physical caregiving, adjusting a blanket, rubbing sore muscles, walking beside someone without needing to speak, these aren't extras to you. They are the foundation. You offer a kind of touch that says, "Let me carry part of the weight with you." But there is shadow, too. If your emotional needs go unmet, or if you feel unappreciated, you may withdraw physically, not coldly, but in silent protest. You might continue to serve outwardly, but close off your body's warmth until you feel safe again. And because you give so steadily, you may struggle when others are less consistent, feeling abandoned even when they didn't mean harm. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, "I open physically when I feel emotionally anchored. My touch is slow because it is sincere." Or, "I give and receive love best when touch is steady, gentle, and backed by trust." Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, touch isn't about seduction, it's about security. It's how you honor love through devotion. It's how you turn routine into ritual. And when someone receives your touch with reverence, not rushing it, not taking it for granted, you offer them a love that is enduring, grounding, and loyal beyond lifetimes. You don't just hold hands, you hold hearts, carefully, nobly, forever. Intimacy of Sensate with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, anchoring through elegance, feeling through atmosphere. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, Sensate intimacy is less about indulgence and more about grounding the emotional body through elegant, stable experiences. Ruled by Aryaman, the deity of sacred contracts and noble companionship, this nakshatra is emotionally attuned to refined pleasures offered with dignity, rhythm, and care. You don't seek sensory intensity. You seek emotional coherence through beauty, routine, and environment. The tone of voice, the scent of freshly prepared food, the warmth of clean sheets, the simplicity of a flower placed just right, these are not superficial details for you. They are emotional scaffolding, supporting your capacity to feel safe and present. You're especially attuned to sound, not for stimulation, but for harmony. The cadence of a partner's voice when they're being sincere, the silence shared while folding laundry together, or soft instrumental music playing in the background, all of these create a container where your nervous system can relax. Harsh sounds, erratic noise, or careless tones make you emotionally retreat. Touch, too, is about rhythm. You want consistency over spontaneity. Affection that arrives in expected ways, like a familiar hand on your lower back, a nightly forehead kiss, or a partner's arm brushing yours while passing by. You respond to reliable, subtle forms of touch that affirm, "I am here, I am constant." Sight is filtered through a practical elegance. You may gravitate toward minimalism, muted tones, or environments that feel clean, purposeful, and intentional. When your surroundings reflect calm order, your emotional body finds grounding. Beauty, for you, must feel useful and calming, not ornamental. And scent, the smell of warm tea, fresh laundry, or skin that feels like home, can transport you instantly into trust or nostalgia. You're not seeking novelty, but sensory memory, elements that root you in consistency and warmth. The challenge? You may unconsciously over-curate your sensory world to avoid emotional unpredictability. You might reject spontaneous sensory experiences if they feel messy, fearing they'll disrupt the calm you've worked so hard to build. But some of your most profound emotional awakenings may come from letting new textures, tones, or tastes in, slowly, with discernment. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I connect most deeply when my senses are soothed through calm, consistent, thoughtful care. Or, beauty relaxes me, not for show, but for emotional anchoring. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, sensate intimacy isn't a performance, it's a devotional rhythm. It's how the body speaks loyalty. It's how the heart receives trust in quiet textures, warm light, and gentle repetition. And when someone knows how to meet your senses not with noise, but with nobility, you don't just feel safe, you feel chosen. Not in the heat of a moment, but in the sanctuary of every day. Intimacy of kindness with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, devotion through steadiness, love as responsibility. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, kindness is not just warmth, it is reliability, loyalty, and quiet honor in action. Ruled by Aryaman, the Vedic deity of noble partnerships and sacred commitments, this nakshatra finds emotional fulfillment in partnerships that are built to last, where kindness is expressed not through flair, but through consistency, dignity, and a deep sense of duty. You don't respond to erratic sweetness or dramatic affection. You respond to the partner who shows up, listens fully, remembers what matters to you. The one who makes the tea before you ask, who follows through on what they said they'd do, who speaks to you in the same tone of voice, whether they're proud or disappointed. For you, true kindness lives in emotional continuity. You offer kindness in the form of service wrapped in grace. You organize the details others overlook. You make your love known through tasks completed, burdens eased, routines honored. When you love, you become a quiet pillar in someone's life. Not flashy, but indispensable. And your kindness carries a moral undertone. If I care for you, I will not fail you. But your challenge is this. You may give kindness even when your own cup is empty, assuming love is a duty, not a dialogue. You may continue to serve without being emotionally met, all while silently hoping someone notices the weight you carry. If left unchecked, this creates quiet resentment masked as stoicism. You also have high standards for kindness, because to you it's sacred. You may feel deeply disappointed when others offer careless affection, break small promises, or speak with insensitivity. Not because you are fragile, but because you know that real love is built in the details. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, kindness for me is responsibility infused with care. I feel loved when someone shows up, not just once, but over time. Or, I offer steadiness. I need the same in return, not grand gestures, but small acts of reliable care. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, kindness is not about pleasing. It is about protecting. It is how love proves itself worthy, not through noise, but through nobility of character. And when someone mirrors that in return, not with perfection, but with presence, you offer a loyalty that never needs to be asked for twice. The kind that folds towels without being told, that remembers what calms your breath, that loves not only in passion, but in practice. Intimacy of growth with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, evolving through steady devotion. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, growth in love is not chaotic or dramatic. It is measured, mutual, and deeply anchored in shared values. Ruled by Aryaman, the deity of sacred contracts, honor, and service, this nakshatra craves relationships that are built to endure, where growth is steady, not startling, and where each step forward is a step toward deeper reliability. You don't thrive in partnerships where emotional ups and downs are romanticized. You grow best in environments where consistency is the soil, and love is the season that cycles in rhythm, not disruption. You don't need constant novelty. You need a shared direction. You need someone who walks beside you, hand in hand, as you both become better versions of yourselves, not just individually, but as a union. You measure growth not by milestones alone, but by emotional responsibility. Are we handling conflict with more grace? Are we showing up more honestly? Are we forgiving quicker, listening deeper, choosing each other more consciously? And you support your partner's evolution with quiet constancy. You offer routines that hold, encouragement that's grounded, advice that's clear but never controlling. Your emotional wisdom says, I will not rush your process, but I will not let you stagnate either. Yet your challenge can be overfunctioning in the name of stability. You may remain in dynamics where growth is one-sided, holding the structure of the relationship while the emotional content goes unbalanced. Or you may struggle with change that feels too fast or destabilizing, fearing that transformation will shatter what you've built. But the deeper truth is this: you are designed for lasting love, not stagnant love. Growth for you must feel safe, but it must also feel real. When it's both, your heart becomes a temple of sacred evolution. To deepen this intimacy, say, I grow through steady emotional progress, not emotional upheaval. I seek partners who grow with integrity, not instability. Or, I offer growth that is grounded in care. I ask for the same in return, not perfection, but shared commitment to becoming. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, growth is a promise kept quietly. It is the way love matures without drama. It is how you build a future that doesn't just look good, but feels good every day along the way. And when you're met by someone who values that pace, that path, that principle, you don't just grow. You thrive in devotion. You flourish through steadiness. You bloom as only the loyal-hearted can. Intimacy of activity with moon in an Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, shared routines, sacred togetherness. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, intimacy through activity is about showing up reliably, respectfully, and with a sense of mutual purpose. Ruled by Aryaman, the guardian of agreements, responsibilities, and noble companionship, your emotional body responds not to spontaneity or spectacle, but to shared rhythms, intentional cooperation, and being useful to each other in everyday life. You don't crave constant novelty, you crave meaningful repetition. Folding laundry together while discussing the day, cooking side by side in quiet understanding, taking a weekly walk where silence feels like connection, not absence. These activities are not filler to you, they're foundations. You bond most deeply through presence in the mundane, because that's where trust is built and love is proven. Your heart opens when someone participates in your world, not by taking over, but by walking beside you. Shared action becomes emotional glue. You want a partner who shows they care by making the bed, driving you to the station, running errands without having to be asked. Not because these things are romantic on the surface, but because they say, I'm in this with you. You are also naturally inclined to offer acts of service as love, often taking on more than your share, especially when a partner feels overwhelmed. You become the one who holds things together. But your challenge lies here. You may suppress your needs for autonomy or spontaneity, fearing that stepping outside the routine will disrupt the bond. Or you may quietly resent when others don't match your consistency, expecting them to intuitively show up without you voicing what you truly need. You flourish when shared activities are not dictated, but mutually chosen, with space for individuality alongside connection. You don't want to be managed or micromanaged. You want to feel respected as a sovereign half of a sacred team. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I feel most connected when we do things together in ways that feel grounding, not forced. Or, love to me is showing up consistently in shared space, not just in romance, but in responsibility. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, activity is how love becomes visible. You don't need constant praise. You don't need extravagance. You need someone who will sweep the floor with you after a long day, and in that quiet motion, say, I'm here. I'm staying. And when that happens, when someone chooses you not just in passion, but in partnership, you return the gesture with loyalty, devotion, and the slow, steady magic of a love that is as functional as it is faithful. Intimacy of allowance with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, space within the structure, grace within the bond. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, intimacy of allowance means being given the freedom to be human, imperfect, in process, and periodically undone, without being made to feel like a burden. Ruled by Aryaman, guardian of sacred contracts and companionship built on integrity, your emotional nature holds a deep reverence for stability. But true stability for you must include emotional spaciousness, not just structure. You give generously. You show up. You honor responsibilities, promises, timelines. Your love is built through daily acts of service and the architecture of shared life. But beneath that noble steadiness is a longing. Can I take off my armor and still be loved? You don't ask for much, but when you do need a break, when you're tired, moody, introverted, or momentarily disconnected, you need a partner who understands that needing space is not the same as stepping away from love. That your quiet moments aren't rejection, but restoration. That your emotional ebb is not an offense, but an invitation for gentler presence. You flourish in connections where your consistency isn't taken for granted and your occasional dissonance isn't punished. Where you're not always expected to be the stable one, the responsible one, the emotionally composed one. Where you're allowed to change your mind, change your pace, or simply not be okay for a while. You offer this same allowance to others when you feel safe. You're not controlling by nature, but when your own needs are ignored or when you sense disarray in the relationship, you may become rigid in your routines or emotionally withdrawn, using structure as a shield rather than a shared rhythm. Your deeper growth lies in realizing you don't have to earn your emotional fluctuations. You can be loved without always performing steadiness. You are allowed to unravel and still be worthy of devotion. To deepen this intimacy, say, I feel safest when I'm allowed to step back without fear of emotional consequence. Or, I give loyalty freely, but I need freedom within that loyalty to be who I am, even on the quiet days. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, true intimacy is the ability to rest within your bond without fearing that your pause will be mistaken for distance. You want love that honors your reliability, but doesn't demand your perfection. You want partnership that respects your sovereignty, not just your service. And when you are met with that kind of graceful allowance, when your needs, moods, and silences are given space to breathe, you don't disappear. You return fuller. You stay softer. You love deeper. Because nothing nourishes you more than being held without being held too tightly. Intimacy of giving with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, service as sacred expression of love. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, giving is devotion, not dramatized, not performative, quiet, reliable, woven into the fabric of your daily life. Ruled by Aryaman, the deity of noble commitment and sacred union, your emotional body expresses love not through grand declarations, but through steadfast support, helpfulness, and presence that doesn't falter. You give by showing up, repeatedly. By preparing someone's favorite meal on a difficult day. By organizing what's chaotic, smoothing what's tangled, and filling the emotional gaps others don't even realize they've left open. For you, love is not theory, it is action. A steady stream of thoughtful gestures that say, you matter to me, so I care for your world. Your giving is rooted in duty that comes from the heart, never out of obligation, but out of deep-seated loyalty. You want to be useful to the people you love, not as a way to control, but because supporting them helps you feel emotionally bonded. But your shadow lies in this. You may overgive without pause, waiting to be recognized, silently tallying whether anyone notices how much you do. If that recognition doesn't come, you may retreat, not loudly, but with slow-burning disappointment. You might continue giving practically while emotionally pulling back. It isn't revenge. It's a way to protect your sacred offering from being mishandled. You must remember, you are not only valuable when you're helpful. Your love is beautiful when it flows from abundance, not depletion. Your emotional depth deserves receiving just as much as it excels in giving. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, I give from devotion, not from duty, but I feel closest when my offerings are seen, appreciated, and not taken for granted. Or, support is my love language, but I need tenderness in return, not just thanks, but reciprocity. Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, giving is not about keeping score, it's about keeping sacred the bond you've chosen. And when someone meets your care with emotional respect, not entitlement, your giving becomes transformational. You don't just offer time, energy, or effort. You offer emotional structure, emotional sanctuary, emotional grounding. Because for you, to give is to protect, to give is to build. To give is to say, I choose this love, not just in word, but in every gentle act that sustains it. Intimacy of receiving with moon in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, letting steadiness flow both ways. For your Uttara Phalguni moon, receiving is the final gesture of trust, the moment when love, once given tirelessly, is finally allowed to return home to you. Ruled by Aryaman, the noble guardian of soul agreements and sacred partnership, your emotional nature is built around offering. Offering support, offering solutions, offering care that lasts. But beneath that strength is a quiet longing. Will anyone hold me with the same care I give? You give generously and often first. But when it comes to receiving, you may pause. Not because you are unwilling, but because you're unsure if you've earned it yet, or if you're allowed to stop holding everything for once. You feel safest giving because it feels active, useful, and noble. Receiving, on the other hand, asks you to trust, to be still, open, unguarded. And that, for someone as emotionally responsible as you, can feel almost radical. But the deeper truth of your moon is this: you are worthy of care, even when you're not carrying everything. You don't need to prove your value by doing more. You don't need to wait until you're depleted to ask for support. You receive best when affection, help, or nurturing is offered, quietly and sincerely, not as performance, not with strings attached, but with presence. A partner who notices you're tired before you say it. A gesture that anticipates your unspoken need. A softening that arrives without expectation. These are the gifts that land deepest for you. Yet, your shadow emerges when you deflect or minimize what's being offered. You may say, "I'm fine," when you're not. You might feel guilty for accepting help, or you may accept it physically while staying emotionally braced. True receiving for you begins not in the act, but in the allowance. To deepen this form of intimacy, say, "I'm learning to receive love without needing to earn it. I feel safest when what's offered comes with quiet respect, not pity or performance." Or, "Support means the most to me when it's offered sincerely without making me feel dependent." Because for your Uttara Phalguni moon, receiving is not indulgence, it is restoration. It is what allows your giving to continue without turning into resentment. It is what reminds you, you are not just the structure, you are the soul that lives inside it. And when someone gives to you with care that matches your own, when you are not just admired for your reliability, but nourished in your humanity, you unlock a deeper current of intimacy. One where love isn't a duty passed back and forth, but a quiet river that flows in both directions, unrushed, unquestioned, and finally allowed.